What's happening, guys? Welcome back to the Rebel Workshop. Today's build, it's not a build because I've already did it, but today's video is showing you how I made this Death Star wall panel light. Let's do this. Before we get started, I'm just showing you what the alcove above the door frame looks like. Obviously the panel's already inside, but this is the opposite side. It's actually just the same above all the doors. But there you go, as you can see there's a wee bit of an alcove just above the door frame. Now my original thought was to cut this wooden panel out and then put in the Death Star panel up here and have the light from the window just shining through, but then I went out a wee bit further and decided to use LED lights instead. So the first thing I did was go online and find some reference material. If you type in Death Star wall panels into Google, hundreds and thousands of images come up. So it's basically this panel, this pattern on this light panel that we're looking for. I found an image, saved it, then went into Illustrator, imported the image into Illustrator, as you can see. So it's just this panel here that we need to copy, and all I did was traced it, made the pattern. Now I can keep this pattern and scale it up to any size I want. I really just need this little part here to actually go in the size of the panel because it's actually quite small. Then I just scaled it up to get the whole panel. Also put in some wee lines just for reference material, and also put in centre marks for the circles just so it would be easier to draw the actual parts out. And there we go. So before starting this project, I actually came across an old sign, an old plastic sign that was getting thrown away. I've no idea what the material is, but I thought I could use it for something in the future. So this is what I used to actually make the panel and the frame for it as well. Now, as I said, I don't know exactly what this is. Whatever it is, it's easy to cut, as you can see, with a basic craft knife. Only takes a couple of passes and it cuts right through it. And it gives you quite a clean cut as well. Now after a wee bit of research, I did look online. It looks quite foamy inside, and there's stuff you could get which is PVC foam board or Foamex. I think there's other names for it as well. It could be that, I'm not entirely sure, but whatever it is, it works pretty well. It's sturdy enough for what I wanted to use it for, and as I said, it cuts easy enough just with a knife, and drilling into it is a lot easier as well. Yeah, if anybody knows what this is, leave a wee comment. So with the drawing done in Illustrator, I then just printed it off onto A4 sheets to use as a template. Now the pattern actually is repeated 4 times down the actual panel itself, so I had to print this off 4 times to actually repeat the pattern all the way down the panel. Good thing is though, if you turn it over, if you rub it then onto the actual Foamex sheet, the ink transfers across and gives you the template on the actual sheet itself. It makes it a lot easier to drill and cut the holes out. Now the plan to cut the pattern out on the panel, I was literally just going to drill individual holes for each of these circles and use a straight edge and a knife just to cut the lines between them. To drill the holes, I decided to buy a set of step drill bits. These guys are amazing for cutting thin material with big holes in it. The actual size of the holes were 22mm, and I actually got a step drill bit that had a step that was 22mm as well. These guys are brilliant. I've wanted a set of these for years, and this project finally gave me a chance to actually buy them. Or an excuse, really. Now into drilling all these holes. It was a long, tedious task of drilling them. I had to do every single one and make a pilot hole for each one as well. Once the pilot holes are done, I used the step drill bits to get up to 22 mils. As you can see here, it was a bit of a mess doing all this, but that's what Hoover's for, isn't it? Now this did take me quite a while to do. I think it took more than 40 minutes to actually drill all these holes individually. I took my time just making sure I was actually staying in the guides. And as you can see, that was it done. Now on to the next step of cutting all the lines. This took a while again, but I just took my time, used the marks as a guide to actually cut the lines, and it turned out pretty well. It did take a while again to cut all these, but it turned out pretty well. So the transition between the lines and the circles were pretty rough, so I had to go in with my Dremel sanding bit to actually smooth it all out. I then went across it again with some sandpaper just to smooth out the circles and the lines, gave it a bit of a more of a rounded edge to it as well. I think that turned out pretty well. So to give it a wee bit more detail, I decided to put in some panel lines to make it look like several panels instead of just one big one. The next step was painting. So first off, we went in with some grey primer to give it a base coat. The top coat was a mix of black and some darker grey. The dark grey actually was splitting out a wee bit, as you can see from these pictures. But I'm quite happy how it turned out. It gave it a bit of an extra texture. To mount the panel in the door frame, I created this little frame out of the same material. It was just a press fit. That way, if there's something wrong with the LEDs, I could just pull it back out again. I bought some white acrylic sheets to use as a diffuser for the lights. These were both cut to size to fit inside the frame, and it was mounted to the inside of the front panel, and it looks pretty amazing just as it is. Next we went on to the LED strips. I bought a smart LED strips that can be controlled several ways, including Alexa and your smartphone, and it gave you different colours as well. So these were just peel and stick, so it made it really easy to mount them to the back of the acrylic. I ran it around the outside of each pattern, then that was done. The next step was to mount the frame to the front panel, and all I did was use some clamps and some super glue, and it worked perfectly. It's a solid wee bond, and it shouldn't come off at all. Once the glue was dried, it was then just a case of sliding it into the alcove, and it fitted perfectly. So here's a wee closer look at the panel in place. I think it looks amazing. I love the contrast, even with the lights off, I love the contrast between the white of the acrylic and the grey paint. I'm really happy how it turned out. And of course, the lights need to be turned on. There we go. As I said, it is a smart LED strip, so it is controlled several ways. You could ask Alexa to turn it on, you could turn it on with your phone. And with it being RGB, you could set it to any colour that you want. So there you go guys, that's it done. It looks amazing, mounted above hand in the door frame. The light gives a bit of extra atmosphere to the room as well, all the different colours that it can go through. I hope you liked the video. If you did, please remember to like, subscribe and hit the notification button to see future videos. And I'll see you next time on the Rebel Workshop.